Investigators learned the employee of Ballard Contractors, Inc. was guiding an 8,575-pound shipping container into place when one of the chains used to lift the box snapped. I want to talk about some bad things that are happening, and I'm going to start with Boss Watch. Let's get us going here and over time with some bad news starting here in Alabama, unfortunately. So the U.S. Department of Labor Workplace Safety Investigation has found an industrial concrete construction contractor failed to follow required safety procedures that could have prevented a 65-year-old worker from suffering fatal injuries when a shipping container weighing more than 4 tons fell and struck the employee at a job site near Tuscaloosa. Investigators with the department's OSHA with the department's Occupational Safety and Health Administration learned the employee of Ballard Contractors, Inc. in Moundville was guiding an 8,575-pound shipping container into place when one of the chains used to lift the box snapped. OSHA determined the company violated federal regulations by doing the following: failing to ensure rigging equipment was rated properly to handle the container's weight, permitting an employee to work near or beneath a moving load while moving a container, allowing workers to use steel chain slings and a 4-way chain lift without identification plates attached or load ratings indicated, failing to perform periodic inspections of slings, not ensuring fall protection was in place while workers connected rigging equipment to an overhead crane at heights of 11 feet. Ballard Contractors failed in its legal responsibility to provide its employees with a safe work environment, especially when it comes to dealing with the serious dangers of handling heavy loads, said OSHA Area Office Director Joel Batiste in Birmingham. And let's see, OSHA standards exist to help prevent tragedies such as this from occurring. Employers must recognize their duty to ensure the safety of their employees, he continued. Worth noting, Ballard Contractors received citations for 8 violations in total related to its failures to protect workers from fall, struck by, and crushed by hazards. Moving from Alabama killers to Texas killers, LaPorte Tank Cleaning Company again chose to disregard federal safety standards that may have protected their employees from hazardous working conditions and prevented another employee from suffering a fatal injury. In December 2023, just 2 days before Christmas, the wife and son of an employee at the company grew concerned when he didn't return after his shift. Later that day, he was found unresponsive. A workplace safety investigation by the U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration determined the fallen worker's employer, Quala Wash Holdings LLC, operating as Quala Services LLC, failed to ensure that atmospheric testing was done inside the tank before allowing the 53-year-old employee to enter it. The agency cited the company, whose employees cleaned tankers used to transport hazardous waste, for 8 repeat violations. OSHA cited Quala Services for the same violations in June 2020, after 2 workers succumbed while cleaning inside a tanker truck in November 2019. Wow. So this exact company had these exact kind of violations just a few years ago. 2 workers had already died there. Wow. OSHA Area Director Larissa Ipson said, had Quala Services acted responsibly and made the safety reforms as required in 2020, another employee would not have lost their life. This employer's complete disregard for its employees' safety is unacceptable. Complying with safety and health standards is not optional. OSHA will use all of its tools to ensure employers follow the law. In addition to identifying the company's failure to conduct required testing, OSHA cited the Quala Services for 7 serious violations, including the following: failing to implement measures to prevent unauthorized entry into a permit-required confined space, not providing an attendant while employees entered permit-required confined spaces, numerous failures related to the confined space entry permit, including not identifying the authorized duration of entry, which rescue and emergency services to be summoned, how to summon emergency services, failing to specify personal protective rescue and communications equipment and alarm systems, overexposing employees to carbon monoxide, and not protecting conductors that entered an electrical panel box from abrasions and leaving an electrical outlet without a cover plate. In total, Koala Wash Holdings LLC faces $810,703 in proposed penalties for its violations.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Moving on to Arkansas, where we have the owner of a Benton Tavern and Restaurant has agreed to comply with a preliminary injunction obtained by the U.S. Department of Labor to stop the employer from violating federal regulations. The action comes amid allegations that Tim's Tavern and owner Tim Stepek failed to pay minimum and overtime wages as required, kept workers' tips, employed children illegally, and fired a worker who warned that the department would be notified. We're going to move on here to the U.S. Department of Labor announced that OSHA has entered into a corporate-wide settlement with Dollar General and its retail subsidiaries to pay $12 million in penalties to make significant workplace safety improvements in stores nationwide and face fines of up to $500,000 per day for failure to comply. Regular listeners of Boss Watch know that Dollar General is a frequent mention on this segment. 2 years after the U.S. Department of Labor fined Coe Steel in El Paso, Texas, over $360,000 for violations and added the company to its program for severe violators of federal safety and health regulations, inspectors returned for a follow-up inspection at the Vinton Steel fabrication and recycling facility and again found the company endangering its workers and proposed over $269,000 in penalties. The U.S. Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division found the Chicanos Cochina Bar and Grill in Richmond, Virginia, stole from their employees. The Wage and Hour Division found the employer's pay practices violated federal regulations, including their failure to pay non-exempt kitchen salaried employees an overtime premium for hours over 40 in a work week. The division also determined Chicanos, Inc. failed to compensate tipped employees at the correct overtime premium for 4 hours over 40 in a work week. Additionally, the employer also failed to maintain accurate records as required. A total of 21 workers were owed wages and damages. Just a note that the FLSA requires that most employees in the United States be paid at least the federal minimum wage for all hours worked and overtime pay at not less than time and 1/2 the regular rate of pay for all hours worked over 40 in a work week. The total back wages and damages recovered, $86,196 in owed wages, $86,196 in liquidated damages. And the U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour District Director Roberto Melendez in Richmond said, quote, people employed in the restaurant industry are often low-wage workers who depend on every dollar earned, including overtime pay, to help support themselves and their families. When employers violate the rights of workers to be paid their full earnings, the U.S. Department of Labor will act to recover the wages illegally withheld. And there were a few other headlines just to mention here, some dishonorable mentions. The Department of Labor is seeking a court order to end an IT staffing agency's practices that exploit workers through a system they compared to modern-day indentured servitude. The U.S. Department of Labor recovered $110,000 in back wages damages for 46 workers whose New Orleans employer withheld overtime pay. A company named Did Lake Incorporated is going to pay more than $1 million in an EEOC disability discrimination and retaliation lawsuit. Another company, this one out of Beaumont, West Virginia, called Cunningham and HNRC, is going to pay $764,274 for alleged state and federal violations, according to the EPA. And then finally, from AO.com, A Birmingham home builder who scammed people out of $1.2 million for work never done will be getting 58 months in prison. So that's Boss Watch for this week. Just a reminder that Boss Watch does come out as a newsletter, so you can go online to tvlr.fm, sign up to be on the newsletter. You can get Boss Watch as well as Last Week in Southern Labor every week in your inbox if you're so inclined.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.